Hello everybody, Megatobins here and welcome to a different type of video today. So I was just, checking Twitter, going through my daily media consumption routine when I stumbled upon a Eurohoops tweet of an article from a podcast which Bayern's head coach Andrea Trinchieri did, in which he talked, about a lot of stuff, but the main soundbite which came out, which I thought was very interesting, was this. In his opinion, in Trinchieri's professional point of view as a basketball coach, you don't lose a game after you've lost a game, basically, is what he's saying. His professional coaching opinion is that Bayern won that first game, which they lost. So Bayern, according to Trinchieri, Bayern won that first game. That last play didn't happen. It wasn't a basketball play, it didn't happen. They won, so in his opinion, they won the series, But I'm going to read out the full transcript of what he said, precisely. Trust me, when I read out what he said, it's going to sound even weirder. So, the first game that we lost, he says, could kill any team in the world. It could kill an elephant. I'm not really sure what that analogy was, but I'm never going to make fun of somebody for speaking a second language. But that was a bad analogy there, Trinchieri. But yes, the first game that we lost could kill any team in the world. It could kill an elephant, he says. The biggest success was going there to play Game 5 after that loss. Up until this point of what he's saying, besides the elephant analogy, which was completely random, I agree with what he's saying and I understand what he's talking about. The issue is with what he said following that. He says, basically, we won the game, he says, full stop. And this next sentence is amazing. Only one play was not executed in a proper way, talking about that final defensive breakdown they had, allowing Armani to officially and legally and literally win game 1, but he says only one play was not executed in a proper way. I'm not quite sure what goes through Trinchieri's head at times when he's speaking. He seems like he's in a perpetual drunk state. Yes, only one play was not executed in a proper way. The play in which you lost the game. Which you lost, by the way, in case Trinchieri still hasn't realized. You didn't win the series 3-2 and then decided Armani should qualify to the Final Four. It makes no sense. Only one play was not executed in a proper way. It happens, we are human beings. Right. You failed to execute the last defensive play in a proper way, which means that you lost the game. The game ends when the shot clock expires. In that particular game, the shot clock hadn't expired. There was still time to play. Enough time for Armani to drop a very good play, and enough time for you, Andrea, and Bayern to fall asleep on defense, have some horrible miscommunication, and allow Armani to win game 1, which they did, because there was still time for them to win the game. After that part, he should understand that what he's saying makes no sense, but he continues, right? He continues and he says, we were a bit so-and-so in the second game, but we still fought, right? Usually you lose by 30 in game 2. It's always like that if you look at the history of the playoffs. I'm going to be honest, I didn't go back to all the playoff games ever in Europe and in history and see if every team lost game 2 by 30. Here again, it seems like Andrea is sipping a little bit too much of red and or white wine, maybe both at the same time, because again, I'm not quite sure what he's trying to say here. So, in my opinion, he said, this is the funniest part of it. So in my opinion, he says we won the series 3-1. So in his mind, right, they won the first game, right? That's done and dusted. They won it. They lost the second game because that's what you do as a team. You lose the second game by 30. This is every future team that Trinchieri coaches should be really worried whenever they go in a playoff series about the second game. Because it's just what happens in Trinchieri's head? You lose it by 30. It's tradition at this point, so you should be very worried about what happens in the second game. What's funnier about that is that I'm pretty sure Trinchieri was the coach of Armani in the 2014 season, which Armani lost game 1 to Maccabi in overtime after blowing a huge lead in that game 1, but then won the second game, right? Lost the first game in a similar fashion, not a buzzer beater, but they lost the game in which they were leading by a lot in a very, very close overtime loss. Then they came back and they won game 2. But according to Trinchieri, you just lose the second game by 30. It's just what happens. Like, they had no option. So they won game 1 according to Trinchieri, right? They lost game 2 because that's tradition. You lose game 2 by 30. And I guess then they won the next 2. So they won the series 3-1. It's honestly ridiculous. Like, it makes no sense. And I'm going to finish up here what this part of the interview, this transcript. By the way, if you guys want to watch the full interview, it's a 1-hour talk. You can go to Bayern's YouTube channel. It's on there. You know, I recommend it. Trinchieri is always fun to listen to, if anything else. He's very entertaining to listen to, so I recommend you guys go check it out. But this was hilarious. This part of the interview, like, it's amazing how he comes up with this. But let's finish it up here. Like, he goes, but it's a different thing. I have to be situational. I have to understand how big was our effort to win 2 games in a row. Right. In that way, with 2 guards out of the roster, when Milano's strength is in the guards. Again, like, yes, he did a very good job in winning the 2 games in Bayern, in Munich, rather. Yeah, he did a very good job of that. Congrats to him. They won 2 games and then forced game 5. Then eventually lost the series 3-2, because that's how many games Armani won, 3. That's how many games Bayern won, 2. Like, I'm trying to understand where he's coming from with this whole rant, but it doesn't make sense. Like, and it doesn't make sense for anybody, right? The first thing you see under the post is Malcolm Delaney, obviously face palming. You see DJ Stevens here, like, huh? The Dave Chappelle gif. And Malcolm again, bodyguard excuses every time. This is something not unusual with Trinchieri. It's even, you know, it's known among the players as well. You see Ricky Hickman under the comments having a laugh at what Trinchieri is talking about, because it makes no sense. Like what is he trying to say here? Trinchieri never has been like the most stable individual on the court and off the court. I mean, he's kind of famous for some of his quotes, some of his mannerisms, some of his rants. So if there was one coach who I would expect to just have a few glasses of wine and then jump on a podcast to say that a series which his team lost 3-2 was actually 3-1 for his team and they deserved to win and qualify, I mean, it would be him. But I mean, let's just go and finish up the transcript completely here, because really what has really gotten the attention, the most outrageous thing is that this thing that he closed this whole topic with saying, you know, I am very thankful and I will say for once very silently happy, okay, because I don't look at what we got, I look at what we deserved. For how we played, we deserved the respect and we deserved to go to the Final Four. This is enough to survive. What? And this is, you know, some very not narcissistic, but, you know, shows a certain attitude of entitlement that Trinchieri feels like he and his team deserve to go to the Final Four. And look, I think that a lot of coaches and a lot of teams that might lose the playoff series might think that way, but they don't come out publicly just a few weeks, barely weeks after they lost that playoff series and say it in a public platform and in the English quote-unquote universal language, so that everybody can understand and pick it up. Now if it was just you know, a podcast in German about Bayern specifically, I can understand, you know, having this discussion, oh, we deserve to win, whatever. But right now it really just seems like he's trying to downplay what Armani did to qualify. He's trying to, make excuses as to why they didn't qualify. He's trying to, earn respect which he didn't earn on the floor while coaching and by results. And that's just not the way to do it. And it's understandable how it's going to rub a lot of people, players, coaches, and fans included, journalists as well, the wrong way. To be honest, Trinchieri this season, in my opinion, he has tried to milk the spotlight a little bit too much. This is always a very weird situation when it comes to coaches in Europe who in many cases are the stars of teams. This is something unique to Europe. You'll never see this in the NBA unless you're talking about Greg Popovich, or like if you go back, Pat Riley when he was coaching, or Phil Jackson or that type of thing. Maybe Doc Rivers, but so I think we always try to find the balance between allowing the coaches to be the great personalities that they are and be unapologetic about what they say, but at the same time we need to understand that not every quote is a good quote. And this year we've seen I won't say coaches ego, grandeur and their status and their ego, for lack of a better word, really get in the way of things. We saw it with Ceska, Itoudis, and the whole Mike James situation, in which that scenario you have two massive egos, two big personalities colliding, and in Europe the coach is always going to come out on top of that exchange when it comes to the club and who the club will side with. In the NBA, again, that's a whole different conversation. We saw what happened with David Blatt, for example. We saw what happens basically with any coach that LeBron doesn't see eye to eye with. Any franchise player can just boot a coach out of the team in the NBA if they want to. In Europe, it's the exact opposite. Any great coach can just put a player, even if they're, say, the MVP of the league, which Mike James, in my opinion, was up to that point. They can just boot him off the team. It's always interesting to me what the balance is and what coaches do, how they conduct themselves, if they try to take too much of the spotlight and they go into some what at times seem like forced post-game interview rants. Like I call it the Obradovic effect. We've seen Saras do a lot of that, we've seen Itoudis do a lot of that, we saw Trinchieri do a lot of that. It just gets to the point where you feel like, right, we get it, like calm down, like you're doing too much as a coach. And Trinchieri, in my opinion, is being the case of that throughout this entire season, and it seems like even after he got eliminated he still wanted to get some more attention, which is why he said what he said. But yeah, I just thought it was really funny. I just thought it was a very diluted point of view to have as a coach, specifically as a coach. Like I can understand the players saying this, but like as a coach, I think you understand, like you just got outcoached, man. In that first game, in the end, you just got outcoached. Or if you don't want to say that the players messed up that play, like you take the responsibility as a coach regardless in that situation. Like you just got outcoached and you lost the series fair and square, and it is what it is. And this is not a good look for Trinchieri at all. But yeah, what did you guys think of Trinchieri's comments? What do you think of the European coach mindset in this situation? Do you think that at times their influence and their reverence in Europe at times can impact them in ways where they do become a little bit too, performative, and they just talk a little bit too much at times and say things that they really shouldn't have said, which is what happens when you talk a lot. What do you guys think? Tell me down in the comments below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more EuroLeague and basketball content, and I'll see you on the next video.